Hello, everybody. Welcome to Career Live. Office Hours. We're glad to be with you today. I was working on Career Live for tomorrow morning earlier, so I've got that on my mind. It's a pleasure to have you with us. I'm John Self, and thanks for joining us in Office Hours, a weekly presentation that'll be available to the public through the end of November, and then it's a members-only program. So if you like our content, if you think it's beneficial, we hope you'll become a member of our John G. Self, Your Career Community. To do that, all you have to do is visit our website at johngself.com, click that little red button on the right side of the homepage or at the bottom left, and join. It costs $49 a month, and it gives you unlimited access to all of our content. And we're creating more all the time. Now, as a program note, there was a scheduling mistake, and I'm learning how to do all the technology. And there was a scheduling mistake, and we had an editing problem. So we're shifting the streaming of our Self Perspective that was supposed to go out today, and that was an error. So it is going to go on next week on the 21st, and then again on the 29th at 11:30 a.m. on both days. So we hope that you'll join us. It features Mike Lee, an experienced healthcare executive who has gone from a very sort of traditional career path. He was with a health system in Dallas, then did a big turnaround on a big hospital system in Texarkana, then joined a hospital management company where he was a road warrior and spent all the time around the country. I mean, he was traveling 6 to 7 times every month, going to board meetings, and these were not communities that were easy to get to. So anyway, he is out and about now, and he is building his own on-demand, executive on-demand course or on-demand program. And he'll be talking about how he's done that, how he's used his network to keep the business flowing in. Today, he's currently working on a longer-term project in a major academic center on the East Coast where they're working on some problems with their physician practice and throughput and a lot of issues, a lot of union issues. So he is in his element. Those are a couple of programming notes. Tomorrow morning, we hope you'll join us for Career Live. That's a 30-minute program on Thursday mornings at 7:30. We have coffee together, and we're going to be talking about habits to conduct your search. A lot of people start their job searches and then really struggle because it's unlike their regular job. And so what we want to do is give you some tips and suggest some habits that you follow while you're doing your job search. It will make your job search go faster, and it'll be more successful. So let's get to today's program. We're talking today about the career pivot from creating a side hustle to risking it all. Now, I think that there is a lot of people in this industry who are doing jobs and they're happy because they don't think about it. And today we want to say, okay, it's the job that you're trying to get on in your career today, the one you're in the job search for, or the one you think you might you pursue in a job search. Is this really what you want to do? And if it is, that's great. But if it's not, this is a subject that a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to. And today we want to talk about it. Let me tell you a little bit of my story if you don't know me. I'm a recovering crime writer and executive investigative reporter. I spent a lot of time on the mean streets of Houston and then editing newspapers in Lubbock and in Tyler, Texas. In my healthcare career, which ran about 42 years, and I still do a lot of healthcare work, I've started 15 new programs. I built 2 divisions within an organization. I created 4 companies. What's the secret to my success? Well, I don't have a business degree, if that's what you're thinking. No, I have a PhD in advanced studies of failure is not an option. So I've had a lot of practical experience in building companies and changing jobs and pivoting in my career. So I bring that to the table today. And if you have questions, I really look forward to getting your questions. I want to stop for a minute and just say hello to some people. Jean-Paul, it's good to see you. Kathleen Forbes, thank you for joining us. We have other people joining us on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. So thank you all today. And if this is information that you find helpful, share it with your friends and encourage them to join us next week. Today's presentation, Alan, just as a sort of a heads up, is not a detailed how-to plan on how to start a company or how to build a consulting practice or how to start a side hustle. It's simply some information to kind of spur a thought process on your behalf to think about, how can I use this if I want to make a transition? How can I use this if I lose my job? Or how can I use this if I want to advance my career and maybe strengthen my brand in a different way? So let's get started. I saw this quote several years ago and it has stuck with me, and I would tell you, it's almost haunted me. Growth is painful. Change is very painful, but there's nothing as painful as staying stuck somewhere you do not belong. You've got one life. Please don't do that to yourself. And so we start today with the story of a hospital executive that I was interviewing one night 15 years ago, I think it was, I believe it was in Phoenix. It was in Phoenix, exactly right. And we had spent 2 hours together talking about hospital operations and challenges and the types of things he'd done. And I broke for dinner, and then we were going to finish the video portion for the board after dinner. And as we were talking, I just felt like there was something missing. There was something that, he was there. He was at 95%, but I felt like there was like a 5% issue that wasn't being addressed. And during dinner, we were finishing up our main course, and I asked him, I said, tell me, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? And his face just lit up. And he said, my granddad has a landscaping business here in Phoenix, and he is so successful. And he has built this incredible business, and he does everything for the yard, the desert maintenance and pool service. He said, we do a lot of work. And he said we'd have a lot of commercial accounts, and it's just been really incredible for him. And he's made a great living. And I worked for him in in middle school. I ran errands, and then in high school, I was on one of the crews, and he taught me how to deal with clients. And he said, I loved it. He said, it's just an incredible experience, and he's going to sell it, and it'll probably leave the family unless somebody from the family steps up and takes it over. And I said, so why are you a hospital executive? This is a challenging job. It's going to pay you pretty well, but it's not owning your own business. Tell me, why are you doing this? And he said, well, my dad's a hospital CEO. I knew that. And he wanted me to follow in his footsteps. And I knew that as well. And so I love my father, and I've respected the work he's done, and it's meaningful, and he serves the community, and he's highly regarded. But it's not exactly what I want to do. And I said, well, you're probably online to get this job, and you need to decide if it's the job you really want. And he came back a couple of days later, and he said, my father and I had a heart-to-heart conversation. It was not the easiest one I've ever had, but I'm working out a deal with my grandfather to take over his company. And I can't tell you how happy I am. And today, a very happy guy, 3 kids that are doing well in school, his lovely wife. They're active in church. They're active in the country club. They're active in civic clubs. He's done even better than his grandpa did, and because he's just passionate about what he's doing, and he's passionate because he can control his strategic direction. He can control his life, and that's really important to him. Now let's switch to Dallas. Several years ago, I was asked to have dinner with a group of lawyers that met every Thursday night in a really nice downtown Dallas restaurant, Jeroboam. And we went in, and I was introduced as a recruiter and career manager, and was there to kind of visit with everybody. And one of the people that was normally in the group couldn't come, and so they invited me to sit in. And my host said, John can't believe that a lot of us don't like what we're doing. And so I said, how many of you guys love practicing law? Out of the 12, a very biblical number I might add, only 4 raised their hand. And I thought, man, that is incredible. How many people, it's just they're doing something they don't really love doing. So I looked over, and this guy said, yeah, that's true. A lot of lawyers don't like what they're doing. And I said, well, tell me your story. And he said, I made partner. It was a tough process. It's what I wanted to do. I have a very, very nice practice. I'm at full bore. I make a very healthy 7-figure income with my bonuses. And he said, my family, we've got a great lifestyle. But if I wasn't doing this, I don't know if I could make that much money. I don't know how my family would react if we took a big hit and I go do something else that I may love to do, but not make as much money. And he said, I feel trapped. Another young guy there who just made partner, one of the youngest guys to make partner in this big firm in Dallas. He was always in the glittery kind of society pages with the beautiful women escorting around. He was single. He lived in a penthouse in the Turtle Creek area, had a really nice couple of sports cars, including a convertible. He had just the life, I don't know if it's the life of Riley, but he had a great life. And he told me, he said, I don't like what I'm doing. It's not what I thought it would be, but I'm making a lot of money, and I only have to do this for 20 more years, and then I can retire. And I thought, my God, 20 years of doing something you don't like, and you're trapped just like the other guy is, but you just won't admit it. So that was a really eye-opening experience, and I've taken that with me as I work with a lot of clients, and I run into people all the time that are very confident what they're doing. They've maybe had to make a change. Maybe there was a reorganization. Maybe there was a disagreement over strategic direction, and they found themselves looking for the same kind of job but in a different community, and they're not always happy. Some people are, and I'm not saying that that everybody's unhappy with their job. Gosh, no. Most people are, but there are a lot of people out there who are not. And so if you go through a transition, it's a time to stop. Don't just automatically make an assumption. Right now, there are a lot of things that are changing. Managers and executives are increasingly concerned with the tightening job market, and across the continuum from healthcare, retail, hospitality, services industries, publishing, communications, there is some contraction. Companies are not hiring as many executives as they used to. They're running it more efficiently, hopefully. And so there's a tightening job market at the manager executive level. Now, if you're a restaurant worker, if you know how to tend bar, if you want to do something in the service industry, more chances are at a mid level, you're going to be able to find a job and make pretty good money, if that's what you want to do, because those jobs are available. But the management and executive jobs are tightening. Now, the average job search time for executives is approaching 8 to 12 months. Meanwhile, a late report says that a lot of companies that are proposing layoffs into the first quarter of next year will be offering either no severance or substantially less severance than was offered during the pandemic. About a third or fourth of the companies have dropped it altogether. There's a lot of mixed economic signals, a lot of consolidation. There's a lot of concerns. Now, hopefully the marketplace will have a soft landing, but who knows? But the point is, as you make these changes, family and work-life balance issues are in play. I mean, you're going to have to relocate. And relocation can be extremely, extremely difficult. And I have seen some horror stories of how people were really badly treated by companies in relocation, and it ended up destroying their marriage and wrecking their family. So there are a lot of things going on and causing a lot of people to say, "Hey, I'm really want to focus on something else." So, is it time for a change? And what does that mean, really? Well, are you really happy doing what you're doing, or are you dissatisfied with your career or your performance? Do you maybe have a bad boss or an uninspiring company to work for? Maybe you are one of those people that are tired of being a cog in a wheel, and you really want more control. You want to be more innovative. You want to be more creative. Some people say, "Well, I lost my job. I just need the same job in another city." Okay, and that works for a lot of people. But before you do that, think it through. Is that really what you want in your life, or are you trapped? Or have you created a kind of sort of a life career construct that you almost feel like you have to do it? Before you pick the right option for you, consider all of the career options. Now, preparing for a new career is exciting. Gosh, it's challenging and requires a lot of planning. And I know I've done it several times. Now, there's the all-in approach. Just do it. People open retail stores. They open fitness centers. They do a lot of different things. And sometimes those can be really, really successful. But you really, you can go into services and you really can promote your knowledge and experience and not have any inventory, which is a great way to start a business. You can become a merchant. Investment in facility and inventory is going to be required. So if there is a failure, you have a lot more at risk. Then there's the franchise investment. I mean, I get emails all the time on LinkedIn and phone calls. Would you be interested in a franchise opportunity? Those they tout those because, if you do a franchise, you have less chance of failing. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Then the next option, if you don't want to go in full bore, you can do what they call the side hustle. Now, some people, they say side hustles, I don't want to drive for Uber. Well, side hustles that is a side hustle. DoorDash is a side hustle. Any part-time work that does not interfere with your main job is a side hustle. So whatever it is, you may work from home. And from some people, they use the side hustle. They say, "Look, I'm doing X now, but I would really like to try this." And so they use the side hustle with a full-time job to stick their toe in the proverbial water to see if they like it, to see if it's from them. Okay. Some people, they have a passion for something and it becomes a hobby with a cash flow. And then their traditional business development strategy issues. So you can use the side hustle as a way to enter the market and probably protect yourself. Franchisees are really great deals, but they've got their own problems. Now, from consulting gigs, whether you're selling, services, how to turn around a hospital, how to improve quality of care, how to improve performance improvement in a communications company, how to revamp your digital marketing strategy. Those are all services that people buy all the time. And those are nice. Those are nice businesses to do because they don't require necessarily an office and they don't require an inventory. And now with the remote working, you can have a team and not have that, that sort of corporate office overhead. But a lot of people start down this path and then suddenly they realize something in life and in this kind of business and in changing careers. Nothing happens until you sell something. So if you're going to start a business, you may be really good at those things I said in services or consulting or whatever, but you're going to have to sell it. So you're going to have to sell yourself. Somebody once told me, he said, "John, I love what you do because you help people, but I hate what I do because I've had, over the last 6 years, I had to go look for a job, 3 times with the economy and consulting. I mean, with the mergers and acquisitions." And he said, "I'm tired of that. I want to do what you do." I laughed. I said, "I have to look for a job. I look for work every day. That's how search firms, that's how they make their money. We're always looking for new business. Well, if you go into the consultant business, that's what you have to do. You're a rainmaker. You've got to be looking to sell yourself, and you've got to do it every day to be sure that you bring in a lot of information. Now, the nice thing about online, contacting people online through LinkedIn, you don't have cold calling per se. And a lot of people hate cold calling. I understand. I'm in that club, but sometimes you do what you have to do. Okay. But the problem with cold calling and networking with people online to try to sell your services or get more business is, like a lot of other things, you get ghosted. People may say, oh, that's interesting, let's set up a time, and then you never hear from them again. Well, consulting requires more cold calling and person-to-person network plus content marketing. So if that's what you want to do, if you say, I'm so tired of, all the crap that's going on in my industry, I am so tired with all the restrictions that people and compliance people put on me, I'm so tired of not loving what I do, or I'm so tired of working for people who screw things up and then I pay the price. Well, that's fine. That's a great motivator. Okay. But you have to understand that there is a big element of risk, because you're going to have to sell your business and you're going to have to promote yourself. If you don't like doing that, you might want to tap the brakes. Now, millions of businesses are started each year, and that's a good thing. But 18.4% fail within the first year. Now, that's a lower number than has been in the past, but 49%, almost half of them, fail within the first 5 years. 65% fail within the first 10 years. Only 25% make it beyond 15 years. So I beat the odds several times. Now, what you need to avoid, like the plague, you may love to cook, and that's great. And you may love the food service business, and that's great. But be aware, if you go into the restaurant business, 60% of them fail in the first year and 80% fail within the first 5 years. So that's a tough business, and you want to be very, very careful with that. But, God love the people who do it, and because they're passionate about food and they can create some really great memories, but it's a really high risk business. Okay. Let's talk about franchises. You're always going to be told, and I've had a lot of executives come to me as a search consultant, and when I was doing that, and people would call and ask for my advice. And one of the most common things I would get, I've laid off, or the board and I just agreed to go in a different direction. And I'm really tired of all this nonsense and all this politics. Help me. What can I do? I've got an opportunity to buy a franchise. Okay. And I go, oh gosh, in what? Well, it's home health, or it's printing, or one was a senior healthcare executive. He said, I love the outdoors. I'm looking at a franchise for a pool maintenance and landscaping business, around the pool. All is great. I think I'd love that. Well, the franchise people like to say that 5% of the franchises fail. Well, that's just not true. It's absolutely not true. And they have had to walk that number back, although it keeps slipping out. So don't believe it. An independent study said that about 65% of franchises survive, only 65% survive after 5 years, versus 72% of independent businesses. So in fact, if you start your own business, if it's well planned and you execute well on the plan, you probably have a better chance of surviving than a franchise. Now, the franchise brings you a lot of systems. They bring you a national brand. They bring you a lot to the table. But that doesn't mean that it's the right place for you. You have the skills, and the capital investment in a franchise is much, much higher because you're paying for all of the support. You can start a business much less if you do it on your own, if you want to put your capital or some other people's money at risk. Now, problem with franchise is that it's not a business if you love to be creative with your marketing and creative how you build your business. In a franchise, you got to follow the rules, or you'll have somebody down there threatening to pull it back. Another threat to franchises is they are now the target of PE roll-ups. And there have been a lot of franchise people who've had their franchisor bought out, and then now they're facing higher fees and new rules. So you have to just, that's one of the risks. You have a lot of support with the franchise, but you also have a lot of rules and a lot of risk. And keep in mind, franchises are not any more successful. Matter of fact, they're less successful than independent businesses after about 5 years. So that's just something to consider. Now, let's talk about the side hustle. Everybody goes, oh man, this is not me. I'm a big time executive. Well, listen, there are 4 categories to the side hustle. Okay. Supplemental income. There are a lot of people who are managers, VPs that have a passion, they have ideas, and they like working with it, but they're not ready to quit their day job. So they start something and they start making supplemental income. A couple of people have hobbies. One was gardening, and now they have a hobby with a cash flow. One lady said, "I got a cash flow of $6,000 a month just doing some videos every month." It's also a great way to test the market. It is, when you're thinking about trying on an idea, the best way to do it is not to go around and talk to your friends, but to test it, out in the market. And the digital channels that we have now make that possible. The other thing you can use the side hustle for is to extend your brand. You may be very, very happy doing what you're doing, but you also have a lot of ideas about the future of your industry or the future of the products and services. And you can leverage that by online and build a following and sell newsletters or put out videos and monetize your site. Is it easy to do? Not necessarily. For example, at Facebook, YouTube, you got to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours. I think it's a month before you can start getting paid from the advertisements that are on your site. But a lot of people have made a lot of money. A great little granny that knows how to, she markets her passion for pre-war, pre-Revolutionary War cooking recipes and techniques. She's now at a 7-figure income and within a 6-year period. So it's just an amazing, amazing evolution. There are true stories, and there are a lot of them. A lot of people say, no, stop, that ship has sailed. Well, YouTube, we'll talk about that in just a minute. There is so much opportunity on YouTube that it's just hard to quantify. However, because there are a lot of people and a lot of voices out there, you have to be sure that you are unique and tracking your niche. So the creator economy that, what we're really talking about here is the creator economy, and the software there, the facilitated economy, it allows content creators and influencers to earn revenue. And everybody laughs at these guys making sneaker videos and talking about this or that. And everybody kind of thinks they're just street hustlers that don't, that are kind of lazy and don't want a real job. Well, those street hustlers that don't want a real job are making 7-figure incomes. So it's a pretty amazing thing that's developed. A lot of advertisers now are finding little independent people who have a following, and that's how they're marketing their product through them. So we're now, instead of having broadcast television, that was the only way you could really get your product out. You could only make really big national sales, and which is very, very expensive. Now they're targeted in macro or micro marketing techniques with these creators. As a executive, you may have a lot of ideas, and you may have some other things to do that are not skateboard films or out there pushing sneakers, but you can push ideas. And a lot of people have done very well on ideas. Now, the size of the market, in 2022, we estimated it was about $104.2 billion. Goldman Sachs projects the growth to exceed $480 billion by 2027. It's an extraordinary thing that's happening. And a lot of people who've gone through the ebb and flow of this said, they felt they really weren't they weren't really facing hard times during the last couple of recessions. Now, we've talked just a bit about YouTube. That is the mecca of the side hustlers right now. This is one example of how you can generate additional income or transition to a new career. Okay. Like franchises, like Mary Kay and Amway or other business, it is not for everyone. Okay. I'm raising this issue because a lot of people have a lot of ideas and they really don't have they don't feel like they have an avenue to express themselves or an avenue to take advantage of these things. Well, YouTube allows you to build a business without a lot of capital, yes. Are there people that fail in YouTube? Yes, but it's generally not an expensive proposition. Then, what they do is give up. However, the cost of failure and this type of side hustle business is much, much less than, say, you ran a clothing store or a gym. I get my coffee at a Starbucks here in Tyler, and they built this spinning gym and put a lot of money into it. It was a franchise, and the couple didn't even last 4 months. So they're on the hook. They're on the hook for the lease for another year and a half, and they're on the hook for the franchise fees, even though they failed. they were told, oh no, these are winners. Here's all these people that have succeeded. You'll be very successful putting it in this location. When it didn't work, now they're still on the hook. And so that's just something you have to keep in mind if you want to pursue that avenue. YouTube, a lot of people don't really know the story. We just hear about it, but it's founded in 2005 by 3 former PayPal executives using bonus money when eBay bought out PayPal. And it was originally a dating service with the questionable title, Tune In and Hook Up. So 18 months later, Google acquired it in a stock transaction valued at $1.65 billion, okay? 18 months after it was founded. Today, it is the second largest search engine behind Google, incidentally. It has billions of users, and more YouTube videos are watched daily than people watch broadcast TV. It's just a matter of finding the niche. So some people say, well, what's the secret here? If you're gonna do a business, whether it's online or some of the business, what is the secret? Well, the first question is, do you have credible expertise to share, or do you have credible expertise to leverage? Share as in being a consultant, as being a turnaround person, as being a performance improvement person, or somebody with operational credibility to start a business like retail or start a business in communications. Those are the questions you have to have. Do you have the experience? Because some of these businesses are really, really, you can get in and over your head in a hurry. Second is, are you passionate about this expertise? Okay. Starting a company or changing careers or having a side hustle is extremely hard. I mean, it really is. And will somebody care enough to buy your expertise or ideas? Now, one of the things I will tell you, if you start this way, I know a physician who is now, he's a pediatrician, and it's Ask Dr. Jason. And he is finding a market because there are a lot of mothers that go in to see the pediatrician. And the pediatrician has got somebody out in the hallway with a clipboard, the stopwatch saying, wait a minute, you only got so many minutes with that patient. And so the patients know this, the mothers know this, but there's questions they don't always get to ask. And so now he's answering questions for new mothers. And he's probably going to be very, very successful at that once he gets really focused on it. It has a low cost entry. Okay. A lot of people who are millionaires today who started this 4 or 5 years ago started with their iPhone or their Samsung or whatever they own. As iPhone's great because it has a built-in editing system. But anyway, you need a cell phone, perhaps some lights. We use studio lights here, and a microphone. I use the Yeti Blue studio microphone. We also use for some of our work, we have little lapel microphones. They're less than $30. The studio mic was about $130. The lights were about $35 or $40, and the cell phone is whatever the cell phone is. Right now, I think some of the companies trying to get you to switch providers will give you the phone. So it's not a real expensive way to get started. And I will tell you this, and I'm still learning, so I'm not here as an expert. I'm just saying it's an interesting thing that I'm learning, and a lot of other people are doing pretty well at it. But information, the content you're sharing is more important than the video production values that when you get started. A lot of people, they want it to be perfect. No, just hit record and go. You'll learn how to make things much better. I'm learning how to use StreamYard. I'm learning how to use Keynotes, the Apple slideshow to make animated graphics. I'm learning how to edit video on iMovie, and I can do it. God help us, anybody can do it. So I'm probably evidence that the bar entry into this kind of business is pretty low. But what you have to be willing to do is you have to leverage your passion and your ideas. Why? Because passion will sell. Now, it is a crowded market. This is a disadvantage. So you must create a clear niche of what you're doing. It's not enough to be a doctor who wants to answer clinical questions. You need to zero it in so that you can attract people, because the key to being successful, if you want to make videos and you want to create an opportunity for people to come and ask you a question, is number one, what is your channel for? And number two, what problem does your print channel solve? Because that's why people go to YouTube, is they're looking to solve a problem. It is a search engine. Okay. Now you've got to do some investment learning the ins and outs. I recommend if you ever want to do something on YouTube, there's something called the VRA Academy. Sean Cannell, he's the real deal. He's got really a lot of good advice. He started off very, very small. He's very much into video production, and it's a great way to get a lot of knowledge. So you might research. He's got a book out. I had it here. It's called YouTube Secrets. Excuse me for that production error, but it's an interesting book. You might read it just to see if you have some interest. I know a couple of people who are at a point in their careers, they don't want to travel anymore. They don't really want all the stress and the hassle. They want to keep some connections, and they want to maybe shift the way they deliver information. And so they're looking at this as a way to do that. A former hospital CEO wants to have a channel for answering questions about why hospitals do what they do. Wow, there's fertile ground. But I will tell you this, you still have to be okay with rejection, because you're going to make some videos, and until you learn the formula, until you learn the production of how to do the thumbnail that catches people's attention, until you learn how to get your web page, your YouTube page, hitched and get the right SEO, it takes the time. There are other people that do 2 or 3 and they're off to the races, but that's not the case for everybody. But if you stay with it, if you follow the formula, it will work for you. Okay. If you've got good content and if your niche is tightly focused. Okay. Passion sells if the market values, and if the market and the values the product that you have. Okay. That's really important. But you got to remember this, you've got to have the time, and you have to be consistent with your content creation. And I can tell you that I have a lot of work coaching people, and I spend a lot of nights and weekends doing a lot of the video content that people now are beginning to talk about. I was at a big healthcare meeting last night, and several people said, oh yeah, I really enjoy seeing your stuff, because we don't do daily videos anymore, but we do your videos and love to see them. So that kind of makes you feel good and feel good and fills up your gas tank so you can keep going. If you decide to do something on the side, you still have to treat it like a business. So you need to focus on your niche, just like you were getting ready to invest in a lot of money in a physical plant with inventory. You can't ball up this thing and be all things to all people. Okay. You can't just try to say, oh, I'm going to cover the waterfront. That doesn't work. You got to do your homework. You got to have a legal structure based on what the size of your market is. You might want to set it up so that if you do make some investments or you do have some expenses, you're able to write it off on your taxes using maybe an LLC subchapter S or just a straight corporate subchapter S. But anyway, there are ways that can help you with some of the investments you make. You still have to have you have to have a plan. And I will tell you, whether it's starting a side hustle, starting a new business, or looking for a job, hear me. If you don't hear anything else today, hear this. The people who have a career plan, who know where they want to go, and who are focused on that, do a lot better and find a job much faster than those that don't. Now, you may have it in your brain, but until you've written it down, you really don't have a plan. You just have some thoughts and dreams. So if you're going to do something like this, you still have to have the discipline to get it done. You've got to allocate time and capital, for this. And again, we're not talking about a lot of money, but you still going to have to do that. And you're going to have the support, because if you're doing it from your home, one of our rooms, I've worked from home for a long time, but one of the rooms in our condo here on the golf course, it's a TV studio. So you've got to be able to allocate time and a little bit of capital, and you have to have some buy-off from your from your spouse, so that we're not going to have any conflicts about the room use. And if you're doing this as a side hustle to try to see if I can create an opportunity that will allow me to transition from my day job and not really disrupt my income, you still have to focus on your day job. Okay, that's really important. You don't want to get so focused on this that you're going to miss out. So, keep an eye on that. Okay. Now, this is, I think, an important point. Do not be guilty of transference. Okay. Your passion for a customer's willingness to buy. Okay. You got to treat this very carefully, because it's not your job to fall in love with an idea or a service and everybody's going to come buy it. That responsibility belongs to the customer. That's why we talk about the importance of having a plan, the importance of really researching your niche, the importance of, really understanding your passion and do you really want it to work. And there's 3 circles earlier. You have your passion, you have your expertise, and you have whether is it monetizable. And if you don't have all those things together, you're not really improving yourself. You'll probably fail. So if you have, you may have passion for it, and you may make money, and you may have expertise, but if you're not passionate, it's just another job. And that's not the point here. It's just get another job. It's for you to have a more fulfilling, happier life, that you do something that on Sunday night you go, wow, it's going to be a busy week, but I really love what I'm doing. I really love what I'm doing. And I'm not saying that those of you out here joined today don't love what you're doing, but if you, on Sunday night, if you kind of don't feel really peppy enough, why? Now, I've worked for some real turkeys in my day. And Sunday nights, there were times where I just hated Sunday nights. The happiest night of the week was Friday, unless I was on call. But Sunday nights I dreaded, because that meant another week of just garbage, of abuse and all this other stuff that I had to deal with from some people. And even though I was the boss, that boss, that's a nice thing for lightning rod. And so I really hated it. And I had a partnership once with a guy who we thought we were on the same page. We weren't even in the same book. And so, I ended up walking away from that firm, but I hated it. It got to the point where I hated it because it was not the company that I wanted. It's not the company that I tried to build. And so I will tell you that, these are important things. So you have to do the alignment. You have to be sure that it's fun. It's, if you love it, but you can't make any money on it, that's just a hobby. And as I said earlier, there are some people who started doing just as a hobby to have fun, and they found out they had a hobby with cash flow. So, you can do something like this and not leave your main job. I mean, there are a lot of people that love what they do, but they want to do more. They want to broaden their brand. Or there's some people who think they're in a situation where they might get laid off. They don't necessarily want to keep having to move their family. And if you want to be a CEO or if you want to move up in an organization, there's a chance you're going to have to relocate 4 or 5 times. I know a guy that wanted to get back he was in long-term acute care, and I coached him and helped him get into a major hospital in Fort Worth. He went on to have a very good career there. Then they changed leadership, and he moved on to a hospital in South Carolina, which was a bad experience for him. It was abusive. It was a racially screwed up mess, and I will not say the name of the town. But the people there, they were talking between racism and corruption. It was the double whammy. And a friend of mine said he'd never seen a CEO treated so badly. Guess what? He recovered, and he joined a mission-oriented healthcare system. And today, he's now running the Western division of one of their major metropolitan areas with their Western flagship hospital. He's the president. So, but he's moved so many times to get to where he is. And a lot of people, they get to the point they're saying, I don't want to keep doing this. I don't want to keep moving up. And, healthcare and a lot of other businesses are changing. I'd like to have something that maybe I could to develop and just slide into doing something else. And that's part of what we're talking about today. So this is not, you're going to quit your job and change your career. It's a strategy to maybe make a transition over time. In the old days, it was not, that probably wasn't possible. But now with all the technology we have, with all the video we have, and some of you are better at it than me, but all of the stuff we have makes it possible for us to have more control over our brand. So if you have any questions, let me know. Just put them in the chat. There was, let's see, a couple of things. I think you'll enjoy Mike Lieb's interview. It was, we had a editing issue, and I just had to go back and fix that. It was a mistake that I made in editing, and we scheduled it on the wrong day. So as I said, that's going to happen on the 21st to the 29th. Mike Lieb is one of these guys that moved around. And when he was a regional VP for this hospital management company that focused on rural community hospitals, he had 6 board meetings that he had to attend every month. And he would fly into a town and sometimes have to drive 2 or 3 or 4 hours to get to the hospital. He would have meetings, go to the board meeting, next day, get on a plane and go to the next meeting. And when they made a change and brought somebody else in to do it, he thought, I thought he'd be really, really upset. And he was really, really relieved. And now he's building an in-demand executive business and has been very, very successful. But it's a business that if you want to do it, and I have a lot of people asking me about this, it is a business that requires a lot of networking and a lot of sales. If you want to be a consultant, if you want to advise hospitals on medical staff issues, if you want to be somebody who's a process improvement expert, you don't have a big company if you want to do it on your own. Okay? You are the chief cook and bottle washer. You are the CEO. You are the chief marketing officer. You're the chief of sales. You're everything. So I once had a friend, she spent thousands and thousands of dollars on all this glitzy marketing material. But then she said something, and it sent a chill down my spine. I don't really like this selling thing. I hope this is going to work out. She didn't do any sales. She called some of her friends, but she did not expand her network. And I have just in the process of finishing up recording a new course on networking 3.0. And that's what, it'll be available. We have a version of it up now, but it'll be available for you to watch. Networking is going to be so, so important. And we'll talk about it briefly in the morning when we talk about how people need to manage their job search from a day-to-day basis. Okay. A lot of people, they've run big organizations, but job searches are totally different because it's a totally different routine. It's a total different kind of communication style. And when you're the COO or CEO of an organization, to suddenly have to be in an office by yourself with not a lot of support, it's really tough. And I will tell you, unless you're playing golf with a potential employer, that's probably not going to help you. I tell people, if you don't spend 32 hours a week in your office, you're adding weeks to your job search. And you're not calling people all the time. You're not applying for jobs, but you are building your network. You're data mining. You're looking for opportunities, and you're doing a lot of research to stay current. But it takes a lot of effort and time and to connect with people, and you've got to build your network. If you are frustrated by online applications, then get your network up to speed, because otherwise you're not always going to have to rely on a computer to decide your career. And that's a crappy way to manage your career. So, well, listen, everybody, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. We're going to wrap up a few minutes earlier. I really enjoy this opportunity and to do this. If you have topics you would like us to cover, if you know people that are in the job market that don't have a lot of resources, our program really has a lot of value. We have something like our 11 or 12 courses now. We're going to be adding some more, and it's $49 a month, and it's unlimited. And it includes, video courses, and then you can buy access to our coaching, one-on-one coaching sessions for, less than half what it would cost you if you bought it in the open market. So, and you don't buy it unless you need it. So we've tried to create a path that makes this very, very approachable. And so we're really working on that. So if you know someone you think would benefit from this kind of relationship, it's great. This whole community concept will really take off when we start getting 50 to 100 to 200 people involved. So spread this around. Check out our community office hours next Wednesday. We're going to do one on Thanksgiving Eve. It'll be an abbreviated version, but we'll still be here and answering questions and talking about issues of job search and career management. And we do that every week. And we want to generate an ebb and flow so people can ask questions and feel comfortable with that. We're going to be putting up some kind of code of conduct that what you hear on this site stays on this site. And we want to make it where people feel comfortable in joining us and asking questions to help them with their career. So until tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., Career Live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, have a great evening, everybody. And I hope this information has been helpful. Please don't hesitate to send me your feedback to John@johngself.com. Good night.